Oh my gosh. That was an info dump episode. I don't remember the last time I've seen an entire episode be nothing but yapping and info dumping in a single room. When's the last time? I can't recall. What an absolute yap fest. By the way, I don't have a problem with it. This is the juicy lore stuff that I eat up, but I do have to admit, we should have had a break at some point. Like, there's just too much information on the screen, too much yapping. Like, have a break with a joke or something like that, but it's fine for me in the end. I'm okay with it. Got to learn a lot of stuff, or at least a lot of what Tengen themselves believes is happening, why the Culling game's happening. Yes, finally named this brain person, which is Kenjaku, what they're doing, what they can possibly do to overcome this whole situation, how to get Gojo free, all that stuff. Hopefully it all processes in my brain properly. We'll see in a minute when we start diving into it, but I will probably assume this will be the worst rated episode of Jujutsu Kaisen yet. I have no doubt this is going to get massive downvotes. I think it's already surpassed like the total downvotes of like previous episodes that have been around for an entire week. So that's already telling you that there's going to be some negativity around this episode. But anyways, let's actually dive into the episode, see if I've actually kind of processed all this stuff, starting the episode with them addressing seemingly why they didn't greet Yuki specifically, and Tengen specifies that this isn't the first time we've met. All right, there again, once again, implying to me that Yuki is something special, that she's been here before, that they've met each other before. It wouldn't be the fact that she possibly was a vessel, because again, that's only one person that's supposed to appear at a designated time. It can't be Yuki. It at least implies to me that she's strong. By the fact that Yuki was an option for one of the three, or at least its entire group, two people possible to be at Tengen's side to protect them, implies that Tengen trusts that Yuki is strong enough to protect them. Putting her, alongside somebody like Yuta, yeah, I'm guessing Yuki's pretty damn strong. But anyways, yes, not the first time meeting obviously implies something interesting there. If I remember correctly, and there was probably some people that were probably yelling at me last week about this. If I remember correctly, Yuki, I think, was implying that she was studying a way in order to remove curse energy or the ability to have sorcerer powers from people. I think there was something about that, and maybe that was why she met Tengen at some point, is because she had potentially a way of being able to stop what happened after the vessel was killed. I don't know, a possibility there. But yes, they end up asking why the place was closed, and of course it's because they're afraid of them being aligned with Kenjaku. Again, naming this individual as Kenjaku. This is the person that was once Norito Kamo and is now in Geto's body. Tengen describes why they look the way they do, and it's because they've aged a lot. Ever since 12 years ago when the whole assimilation failed, apparently their aging has accelerated, and anybody who's lived 500 years would look like this. Like, how do you get double eyes? Nobody's going to look like that in 500 years. You don't grow extra eyes if you've been around for a long time. That was a bit of a dorky response. I think that was supposed to be a joke. I get the whole thing of like your face probably like, big, like molding down, but seriously. But no, that's when they ask Tengen what is Kenjaku's goal. And that is to force evolution of mankind. And a good question that was presented here. If they have the ability to turn people into sorcerers, using this idol transfiguration, why wouldn't he just do that? If the idea is to evolve mankind, make everybody sorcerers, why not just do that? Well, it seems like that takes a lot of energy, and none of that energy comes back to them. So Tengen's assuming that, yes, this is the way they're going to do it, is by having everybody assimilate with me. And because they failed this vessel thing, their body has evolved, they're now literally everywhere. So apparently just bringing people to Tengen is going to cause everybody to assimilate, which I guess technically makes sense. I guess the question mark that I have at that point is, why would they be doing that? Is Kenjaku's real purpose here similar to that of Geto? Because again, Geto kept spouting the idea of wanting to have everybody be sorcerers. That way they don't have to protect non-sorcerers. But I think there's going to be something else here. I think that's more Geto's side of things. I think there's probably in the end something different here. And I think that's sort of implied by the idea of when they ask, why would he do this? Why would he do such a thing? Tengen doesn't know. Tengen's like, yeah, I can see everything is going on, but I don't know what's inside of people. I don't know what they're thinking. I can tell you what he's doing. I can tell you he's doing this Culling game. I can tell you that he wants to make people assimilate with me. I know what his plan is by what he's doing. I just don't know why he's doing it. My theory goes in the idea of what they've already set up with Kenjaku and specifically Geto and their abilities and what they've done so far as their current form. And that's the idea that they have the ability to absorb things and they have the ability to control things. And the idea that Tengen is so close to being, or has become something that is more closer to a cursed spirit, means that he can now control Tengen and also has the ability to absorb Tengen. And so my assumption would be that he wants everybody to assimilate into Tengen, and at that point, absorb Tengen. Absorb all of this stuff, thus becoming like this deity, basically. He's going to become the new vessel that will now control the power of Tengen. That's the assumption where I think it's going. I do think that it feels a little simple. It does feel like a typical bad guy thing. It feels like a final boss type of story here, but that's my assumption in the direction that it's going. And I guess it's kind of nice that Tengen doesn't make that assumption. There's no assumptions made here because they just don't legit know. They can't say why because they don't know the actual facts. And yeah, in the end, it doesn't really make sense to Tengen because, yes, once everybody does ascend, does become a part of Tengen, they are more easily corruptible because once one person succumbs to evil, it spreads. There's no barrier between people. Thus, everybody will be infected by the evil. Now, here's the part that's kind of interesting to me that Yuki kind of questions why would this happen now? Like, it implied that this Kenjaku knew Sukuna, and thus they potentially have been around for like 1,000 years. This Kenjaku has been around for a long time. Why at this point? Why is he finally taking action now? And it seems to imply because of over all these generations of, Tengen, of the six eyes being born, and the vessel, these three things that are always connected by fate, that always seem to happen continuously, over that period of time of him constantly trying to get in between these fated individuals, eventually everything kind of clicked. Everything came together in the end. Even points where he was able to potentially separate the vessel comes back. They were able to get rid of the six eyes came back and stopped them. Every single time he tries to break this, something happens. But this one time, everything came together. He's able to find this prism to be able to seal away the six eyes. You had Toji appear, and Toji was this thing that was, away from fate because he had this physical strength outside of cursed energy. Everything was kind of lining up perfectly, and now he's able to finally do something. It's an interesting way of sort of kind of mapping out everything that has happened in the past and the current time to lead up to this point. Like, everything has been obviously mapped out for this story to happen. Now, here's where we actually get into the stuff where my brain started kind of fizzling a little bit. Like, to be honest, when we get to the whole part where it's getting into the whole, like, Culling game, why does the Culling game has to happen? Because it's like this warm-up sequence for the assimilation is to, like, accumulate all this cursed energy and create these boundaries that will eventually create this ritual that will then push people to the other side. They start getting into the rules and how to break the rules, how everything is lining up that they have to actually participate in it. It does imply that they're able to get out of the colonies and thus not have to participate, but anybody within the colonies will have to participate and they will be given powers, and if they don't fight, I think they implied that they will remove their powers, which could potentially be them essentially destroying their minds, question mark. It didn't seem like they were 100% sure about the whole situation, but it does make sense to me in a sense, the idea of making it, detrimental if you don't do it. If you refuse, you potentially could lose your mind or you could be messed up in some way. And so it's going to force people to have to participate so that it has that cursed energy, so that they will actually be able to do the ritual. Again, it makes sense in the end. I'm not sure if that's 100% there. But yeah, after looking at all the rules, they come to the conclusion that they're going to have to participate, accumulate 100 points, and then use those points to create a rule. And this seems a little bit too easy. There's a side of me that believes this is probably what they think could fix the issue, but not something that will work. They imply that it's built with a balance. Like, this whole pack that was created has to have a balance to it. It can't have too much favor to Kenjaku, and thus it has to allow a rule to be created, potentially. But again, that seems too easy. The idea that all they have to do is accumulate 100, which is a lot. I mean, you're talking about at least, based on the point, that they gain from the sources they take down, that's potentially still 20 people they have to take out in order to actually make a rule. But again, the question mark is, what rule can you create that will stop the game from happening? Besides maybe potentially creating a rule that will stop people from being able to play, which again, that could be against the other rules. This is one of those kind of very shaky areas, honestly, when I'm really getting into these rules and them describing the rules and trying to figure out a way around the rules that seem like they're built to not be broken. How this writer will handle this. I question how this writer will handle this, because it's one of those things where am I thinking too much into it, and then literally in 2 episodes they break it all. It seems like enough emphasis has been given to the rules by this author and again in the adaptation that it does seem like this will be significant, and there will be a lot of, playing with these rules and potentially breaking or having to secure those rules. But I still kind of wonder. If I'll be let down in the end. Anyways, I get into how to break Gojo free, and that is using the Prism Realm back. Apparently the back door. There's another Prism Realm that is a back door to the Prison Realm, and they just have to open it. But it's similar to the other one, so thus only Kenjaku can use it, unless you use something that could break it. And Gojo broke everything that could break it. I did get a massive kick out of that. The fact that there's 2 ways of removing the seal on it. One is this thing, and the other thing is this thing. Gojo broke that one or got rid of it or something, and that one he used up. We tried to get some more, but they couldn't get any more. It's gone. So Gojo basically screwed himself. In the end, Gojo literally was his own demise, is messing with and breaking things. I kind of wonder if Gojo knew, or if he was sort of pushed in that direction for the sake of this. Like somebody nudged him in the direction of messing up those things because they were going to eventually seal him away. I don't know. It seems super sus, but there is one other way, and that is through one of the individuals that's being brought back. This apparently is Hana Kurusu, and it's going to be an individual that has the ability to extinguish any other curse technique. So they got to go find this individual. I kind of wonder if it's the individual at the very end of the episode. They brought this comedian up, which I think he's been in the previous seasons. This comedian is going to be a participant. I'm like, okay, I wonder if that's going to be Hana. No, it's going to end up being Megami's sister. No, that'll be too easy. That might be too easy. I guess the question really is do these individuals completely lose their mind once these sorcerers come back? I would assume so. Otherwise, that wouldn't be as chaotic. But yeah, with that in mind, they break down where everybody's going to be going. Choso and Yuki is going to be guarding Tengen. Maki is going to go retrieve the cursed tools from the Zenin house, which, of course, right now, Megami is currently head. Which that's kind of curious. I'm curious how that's going to play out, because yes, we did see Naoya did come out there to try to take out Megami, and he failed, and he was pretty much sent back by Yuta. Yuta saved his life, and I'm guessing sent him back home. But the other 2 brothers, I think, stayed there. So my assumption is that Maki is going to go back to the Zenin house, and she's going to request the tools. And I'm curious if at that point, the other 2 brothers will accept the fact that Megami is the new head. I know that Naoya, if he's back at home, if he's even conscious, I don't know. Again, we don't even know where he's at. He's got his butt kicked. If Naoya's back there, he's not going to accept this. He's not going to accept Maki coming back. And it already implies that they look down upon the females. So I'd imagine having Maki walk in the front door, Naoya's not going to be liking it. But I'm kind of curious how the other 2 brothers will respond to this whole thing. Because again, Maki's going to be walking in there and saying, you're all not head of this house anymore. I'm walking in here under orders from the new head. I don't think they're going to look too kindly upon that, but we'll see. But yeah, Yuta's going to participate in the games and gather information. And finally, Yuji and Megami is going to be recruiting Kenji Hakari, who apparently is some dude that got kicked out, got suspended. He was a 3rd year. He's apparently really powerful. Yuta says that he's more powerful than him, but then very quickly corrects it. So I'm guessing that was a joke, but it kind of makes me wonder. I don't recall seeing Kenji in the movie. And it kind of implies that Yuta ran into him at some point, and that would probably have been during that time, but we'll see. I did love when Yuji goes walking out the door, and he's like, Choso, thank you so much for everything. He starts crying. I love the 2 of them. I just love Choso so freaking much. Yuki's like, wait, are you crying? But yeah, that's the episode. That was, again, a lot to process, a lot of information to process. Again, hopefully that all sunk into my brain, and going forward, it doesn't turn out to be a bunch of useless information. Again, whenever you're dealing with things like this with a lot of rules and, mechanics that all encompass this big tragic event, you kind of hope that it sticks the landing, because otherwise you just went through a whole bunch of stuff just to say, next episode, Yuta acquires 100 points, and then he applies a rule that makes it to where nobody has to hurt anybody, and the game just continues indefinitely. I didn't actually think about that. Yeah, I guess technically you could, if you could at least secure the safety of people in some way or a rule, you don't have to worry about the rule of it stopping the game, because you can just make the game indefinite and it never really matter in the end, because the game never ends, nobody's harmed, nothing accumulates, nothing happens. We'll see though. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content, you want to support channel more, become a member. Until next time, you'll take care. And yes, of course, as always, source material readers, I don't need to answer speculation. Thank you.